Coach, you built two successful businesses and a lot of your clients are entrepreneurs. What are the most impactful business lessons for young businesses? Well, I think my number is around 10 businesses because we had multiple companies when we were in real estate. Um, but the most important thing that a company has to focus on if you're an entrepreneur is you got to find a way to add value. That's what you're in business to do. You're in business to add value through your product or your service or your products and services. And you want to model the success of other people, people that maybe are the best in your industry. It's like, what do they do successfully? And model their success. That can speed up your results. That's why when I worked in the construction industry, I went to work for other people. I went to school for construction management. I got my general contractor's license. I went and did those things so I could gain knowledge and experience from people that already knew how to do it. I could learn how their businesses were run. And then eventually, when I got into the buy, fix, and sell business, I went to work for the company that I was buying my properties from. So I could learn real estate, I could learn mortgages, I could learn about title companies, I could learn about doing lease purchases, I could learn about doing owner financing, creative financing, how the industry worked. And I basically got paid to learn while I earned. And when I got enough experience, then I went and did it all on my own with myself initially, and then later my business partners. And so every business has to do two things successfully. Number one, they have to market their business successfully. Because if you have the greatest business or product that's really helpful, but if nobody knows about it, then it really doesn't matter because nobody's going to buy it. And the other thing is that you got to innovate. And like when I look at what I do, I mean, when I started out, YouTube didn't even exist. And it would be about, I started in 2005, so it wouldn't be until about 5 years later that I started doing videos on YouTube. So, like when you start out on a journey to create a successful business, you can be full of piss and vinegar and enthusiasm, and you typically don't know how you're going to make that business work. You just trust that eventually you'll figure it out with enough trial and error, enough learning from your mistakes, enough adapting your approach and trying different permutations. Eventually you learn enough and you figure out enough to become successful. And so it's going to take time. And you will speed up your success if you can go work for somebody that's in your industry or a similar industry, so you can learn how the business is run. And plus you'll make contacts in the industry, and maybe you meet future business partners or future investors while you're working for other people. And when you do an exceptional job working for them, you develop a relationship with them and they believe in you, and maybe they come to work with you or be your partners or your investors in the future. So whatever you do, make sure you do a phenomenal job at it. Even if you're doing a job you hate, you want to do your best work no matter what you do, because other people will notice. And when you're competent and you're exceptional, other people will notice that, and you'll attract other people and money and other things to you to help you co-create whatever it is that you want to build. What are the most traits excellent entrepreneur? What are the most, maybe it's what are the most traits that excellent entrepreneurs have? Well, they provide a useful product or service and they love it. They're passionate about it. They're excited about it. And it's your passion and your enthusiasm for what you're doing that will sell it to other people. If you're trying to sell a product or service that you don't really believe in and you don't love and you're not passionate about it and you're only doing it because of all the money you think you're going to make, you're not going to be very effective because deep down you don't really believe in it, and your customer won't either. So before your customers will believe it, you have to believe it. Again, first and foremost, find a way to add value. That's the most important thing. Solve a pain that a lot of people have. And the more the people have the pain that you have the solution for, the larger the demographic of potential customers, the more your income earning potential is. And it's like when I looked at how, like when I started out, what really helped me was doing articles on the website, because back then Google search was really big and everybody used a desktop computer, even though we had cell phones out. But I remember around probably 2011, 2012, that's when I got on Amazon's web servers and started using their CDN because I had a global audience. that as you had more mass adoption of cell phones, then we had to make the website responsive to work on like tablets and mobile devices. And then eventually, like what it is now, most of the people that go to a website are like 70 to 80% of them are typically going to be on some kind of mobile device, and maybe 30% are on a desktop computer. And when I started out, Google and Google search and writing articles was really a great way to get traffic to your website. But as YouTube took off and apps like Facebook took off, more people stayed in the apps, and ever since then, the organic search traffic has just been in a slow decline. And like even now, what you see happening is that when people go to Google search or any of the other AIs, you go to Google search, the AI will have a little box that'll answer your question. And then below it, obviously, you have all the links. But most of the time now, people will take what the AI tells them and then they won't click through and go to the website. So across the board, anybody that depended upon organic search traffic for their website and their business is seeing that just continue to drop. So as technology changes, that's part of innovating in a business. You have to understand how the market is changing, how the way people market changes, and now you got AI getting incorporated into a lot of things, and the AI is causing people to basically stay on the Google search page, because in the past, if you wanted to find out something, you would scroll down and you look at the links, or you click on one of the ad links that were there. And so it's just things like that. When I first started out, paperback and hardcover books were the norm. And then you had Amazon Kindle that came along. And then you had iBooks come along. And so you have to do versions for that. And then eventually I did an audiobook. But when I first started out, you had like books on CD and stuff like that. Like Audible was like in its infancy back then. There weren't a lot of ways to sell your audiobook. And so, but for a lot of years, people were like, Coach, you need to do an audiobook. Coach, you need to do an audiobook. And eventually I did in 2016, which was like 9 years ago. It'll be 10 years this coming May, I think it is. And when I published it, I was absolutely stunned at how many audiobooks I sold, because the whole market had kind of moved there. And so I sold a lot more audiobooks, but my paperback sales, my digital sales, and hardcover sales actually went down, because now they could get it on audiobook. And so as technology changes and new things come along, it's like you got to innovate with the times. In the old days, you just did, like on YouTube, you did the landscape video. And then with like TikTok and vertical videos, then you started having shorts. And then you had to do shorts on Instagram.
And even live streams too.
And then now you got live streams, because people want to interact and do super chats and get their questions answered that way. So it's like that's the key to business. If you don't innovate, you'll go extinct, because the market is constantly changing. What makes your business function today, and advertising wise, you look at like when I got into business 30 years ago, everything was television and radio, bus bench ads.
Like Blockbuster, and then Netflix takes over.
Yeah, Blockbuster was offered to buy Netflix for pennies on the dollar 2 times, and they turned it down. And now Netflix is huge, and Blockbuster Video is a memory. Yes, I think there used to be one store in Alaska, but I think that one's closed down.
Yeah.
I think they're all completely gone.
That old footage from like the early 2000s, late 90s of them just in the Blockbuster. They all look the same. They all look like the TVs there.
Well, there was one
the same
that was
carpet
right over near where your dad's house was. That's where all of us went. That's where like all of Fort Lauderdale. And you go there on a Friday night and walk in there with my girlfriend or whatever, and it's like you'd see like 20 people, with their girlfriends, because everybody's going there that was the early Netflix and chill days. But you're getting the DVDs. Initially, it was all the tapes, and then it started switching to DVDs, and it's pretty neat to see that.
Yeah.
And now that whole business that Uncle Wayne built his empire on is completely gone. Pretty crazy.
I was about the snacks, the little candies they had there too for the movies, picking out the movie, going all through.
And then you had the ICTVY yogurt that was next too. It was one of Wayne Huizinga's sons that had started that. I think it was the one that my mom had babysat for, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty crazy. So, like I said, as an entrepreneur, your business always must innovate, change with the times successfully, have an innovative product, and number two, it's got to market successfully. If you don't do either of those two things right, you're not going to make it. And you have to be a little nutty to become an entrepreneur. You have to be a little bent because any normal, sane person would give up when things get difficult. You know, when you're sleeping on your dad's couch for 4 years and like, I'm gonna figure it out. You know, everybody thinks you're crazy, and then eventually you succeed. They're like, oh, I always knew you'd do it. So you have to have your own reasons and motivation for why you do what you do. That's more important than anything because you're always gonna have way more people show up and tell you you're a loser and it's never gonna work.